Kath, how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good. I'm excited to talk with you more about Seed to Table and our amazing year that we had with it, our launched year in 2023. Seed to Table is part of our circular economy grant with the city, and we did some amazing things this year.
We sure did.
And we're headed into another amazing year.
Impressed even me.
Yeah. For those folks who are just learning about Seed to Table, it's a whole amazing concept that spins off of the circular economy, which is receiving a lot of support and initiation from the city. So the grant program, the Circular Economy Grant Program, aims to eliminate waste and pollution and conserve resources. So things we need to pay attention to as climate changes, as financial situations change, as we go through our own life stages. It's a shift away from the throwaway economy to a circular mindset to extend the life cycle of goods, food, and resources through better design and continuous reuse, so nothing goes to waste. So I think this is right up both of our alleys.
Well, it is. I know a year ago when we were first doing this and we first introduced it, we had quite the number of conversations of what our personal goals were and what we would see coming up in the year. And I have to say that I went with you to a community garden talk and found myself, and it was August, I think we went, and found myself actually being asked about some of the things that we do in the circular economy. And it was very interesting, apart from answering all the questions about their gardens. But what I found interesting was that they'd come around to the soil thinking.
Yeah, yep, it all starts there, right?
It all starts in the soil.
Well, if you think about the things that happen within a healthy soil environment, it's very much the circular economy at its finest.
Oh,
because there's input coming in a natural way from the surrounding environment, rainwater, sunlight. The plants are fixing things through photosynthesis and giving and taking, this little party underground.
Yes, right.
And there's no waste there. So if we can look to soil to be our teacher, I think we'll be in good shape.
I think we should be. I like to see people. I always say the first crop you grow is your soil.
So just to kind of introduce Seed to Table, which is the Calgary Horticultural Society's adaptation of the circular economy to our own programming and how we interact with community and with members and future members to involve them in this new way of gardening, old way of gardening, I should say. Not really new, just a revival of environmentally responsible gardening. The whole idea is that it's a journey, and it's this sort of cyclical journey where you can jump in at any point, and wherever you jump in sort of determines your next step, but you're kind of already on the merry-go-round, and you're learning alongside with people that are veteran gardeners or that have gardened in different countries, and they're adapting their skills to this super fun climate here. Or they're just, they've always wanted to try it and they don't know where to start. So you can actually start gardening right now.
Oh, absolutely.
It doesn't really matter what time of year you do it. For instance, right now, I would say we're deep in the planning phase.
Oh, we are.
Yeah,
why do you think I brought the floor plan, the garden plan, the garden layout?
We're looking at classes that focus on just basically setting up your property so that you plan correctly, so that you're setting yourself up for success, so that you're not going to be wasting. Because you need to have a concept of where they're going to go and your budget and how to start sourcing things, maybe upcycling some things, maybe even looking at, for example, if we're going to stick some things on the board here, let's say veggie gardening is very important. So I'm going to put some veggie gardens over here where it gets really good sun.
I was just about to say,
show us where sunlight comes in.
I really think we should get, where.
Yeah, except let's put that up here because that's going to be.
Yeah, I knew you were going to.
Okay, so south facing.
I didn't want to reach over.
And then let's say, okay, gardening, but maybe I took a Seed to Table class, and I learned about building different raised beds, or
different
just in conversation with folks in one of these classes, I learned that, gosh, maybe with a little bit of a design change, I can get a little bit more growing room in sort of a keyhole shaped bed. Or maybe if I turn my garden beds this way, and I'm not too concerned about my lawn, maybe I can get a little bit better exposure for my vegetable beds.
But
So
where's the gate?
Yep.
And then there's a nice way to get your footpath in. And then we look at, for instance, where are the shrubs going to go that you want to plant in? I'm not a big foundation planter. I don't put my shrubs on that part of the house.
Well, you can conserve water by having lots of good shade trees.
That's right. And seeing as that's due south, actually that'll help with the exposure to heat in the summer months.
Yep.
And now a water source.
Understand where water runs off your house.
That's
because
right.
part of a circular economy and this low waste concept is to make the most of what you have. So rainwater,
that's right.
Runoff, snow melt. It's really important to capture those things and build your point of need close to where your resource is, right? So if you are going to redo your eaves troughing, why not have them all come down and collect to rain barrels that are close to your veggie garden?
That's right.
So this is part of that planning phase that can end up saving you money. It can be really fun to start learning how to build some of these things yourself or in sort of a community setting. And then you'll only have to do it once, ideally.
Ideally.
Over time, you can realize it's an evolution. It goes back to that journey. We've got these structural pieces in, we're maximizing the resources we have on the land. And now we're ready to start enhancing it with berry bushes, getting into creating sort of a food forest, really maximizing the space that we have and creating a lot of food right on site. So these
That's right.
Yeah.
And even a
Stick
little
an apple tree.
stick in an apple tree. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in the back garden. It can go in the front garden. And it'll provide shade and it'll actually capture some of the water that comes off that side of the house. And then a nice big shade tree, because obviously this house faces south. So that will help with the insulation on your house and it'll give you a great flow. And that's one of the things when you're planning your garden, you want to identify where you're going to work the most, what you're going to walk on the most, and your footprint in your garden is probably the biggest one you'll ever make.
Yeah. And if you plan it out in a way that's smart and responsive to your site and to your neighborhood in general, what your neighbors are doing, and it makes sense, you'll probably enjoy it more and be out there involved in it more. And
That's
you'll be
right.
more of a,
and that's when you might get to use the patio a bit more.
Yep.
And,
Yep.
Around here, we could put planters and you could grow your tomatoes there.
Sky's the limit. Once you
That's
get
right.
the bones in, you can start to flesh it out
That's
in
right.
really neat ways. So some of these seed to table classes would help guide you in how to do this, what to do, why you're doing it. And it's just guaranteed that you'd meet folks that are on a similar path and you'd be exchanging ideas, maybe even exchanging labor, creating work bees together. So you really start to build this community mindset.
Yes.
One thing that's really important in the seed to table programming is that it's accessible to everybody. So the classes tend to be free or low cost. So they're very low barriers to participating in the classes. This last year, we had great success having them at local libraries, at community gardens. We got into new neighborhoods that have typically been a little slower to form relationships with.
That's right.
So it's such a beautiful thing to head up towards Saddletown or Pine Ridge and work with people that are just getting settled into Calgary. They come with so much horticultural knowledge. They're eager to learn and continue their methods of gardening and growing food for their families and their communities. But Chinooks, hail in July, frosty summer nights, like all these challenges can be addressed in our seed to table programming, where newcomers to Calgary or people new to gardening here would learn some tips and tricks to avoid the pitfalls.
Yeah, some of it is really important and some of it is surprisingly easy in my mind. Like even Joanna, over the last couple of years with gardening with Joanna, as I like to say, I find that I learned from her as we trade
Oh
a
my
lot of
goodness.
information. So it's part
It's
of it.
osmosis.
And I mean, some of the costs are allayed because if you've got a friend like Joanna, she shares seeds with you. Seeds, I'm quite excited.
Well, that's the thing about this
So-
whole notion is that gardeners share.
That's
And
right.
gardeners are mindful of what we do on our land and what we do within our community. So that whole vibe really syncs up well with the seed to table programming. If I share seeds with you, I know things will come back towards me and we're
That's
stronger
right.
for it. And
And
I
we
always learn. I always
That's
learn
right.
from those around me.
And that's part of it. It's an
Yeah.
ongoing conversation.
When we launched Seed to Table in 2023, it was so nice to, we were wondering how it would be received, what the interest might be, and it was overwhelmingly successful and positive and supportive. And I wanted to share a couple quotes that class participants put into their evaluations. You don't have to buy fancy stuff, recycle any and all things. So that takes me right back to our toilet paper tube seedling pots or our newspaper pots. Those are
That's right.
basically rating the recycling bin before things even hit the waste stream. We're already repurposing them to something useful, and those items can biodegrade right in the garden soil.
They just dissolved in the garden. It's magic. It's magic.
Instead of purchasing something, we're using what we've already purchased or we already have on hand and reducing that waste and making something useful out of it.
And a twice-used product is a cheap product.
Yeah, it holds us all accountable. We saw a lot of participant evaluations come back with the notion of having a renewed sense of responsibility in their gardening practices, which is great to hear. Also, when we think about reducing our waste, this is something through my work I learn all the time. For example, I'm pulling out pepper plants at the end of the season and a lady comes running over and says, no, we're still growing those and there's no peppers on them because we've had our first frost. And I was a little curious and I said, oh, are you going to transplant them? In my mind, I'm thinking the peppers are done, the plant's done, it's ready to go in the compost. And she said, no, we eat the leaves. So I'm learning all the time that there's further use on things that may seem like it's ready for the waste stream, whether it's to be turned to mulch or compost or go into the garbage. So another quote that was really nice, I learned about using more parts of plants than might usually be used by eating the flowers, buds, etc. So if you've ever tried to grow radishes and they bolt really quick, don't be sad. You can eat flowers, leaves, the seed pods.
That's why they're my favorite vegetable.
And they're done in less than 30 days.
That's right. And the Greek name for it means fast grow.
There you go. Yeah. So these are things that we learn from one another through our classes. I think it just keeps people having a renewed interest in how to like further adapt their growing and gardening skills, and make sure that they're in line with being responsible and responsive to all of the things that we see changing around us.
Well, I have some big hopes for this program this year. My big hope is there will be more conversations about what did you grow this year?
Nice.
And what did you share?
You have a focus on food.
I do.
Yeah, nice. That's great.
You don't want to just grow vegetables. You can foodscape. You can add them in around your flowers.
Absolutely. I think as we see grocery prices continue to rise, as we see things happening around us and in our local economies that sort of put a pinch on everybody, my hope this coming year is that instead of just feeling the pinch and feeling all that pressure and potential despair or lack of autonomy and things, that we can really come together as communities and find ways, like you say, to grow food either together or to gain those skills to do that on our balconies and our backyards, and offset some of that pressure and stress.
That's right.
And take back some of the power of our own nourishment and our own sort of micro economies. Because that's what it is when my neighbor hands the beans that she doesn't even like over the fence and I hand her my extra zucchini. That's a little micro economy happening.
That's right.
strengthens our bond and helps nourish not only physiologically, but mentally and emotionally too in the neighborhood.
That's right.
And
Sharing.
encourages people to continue reaching out and not be isolated. It helps people sort of realize there's a whole world out there. And so participating in new classes, perhaps joining into your community garden space. If you don't have one, start to connect with neighbors and friends and see if you can start something.
That's fun.
And in the meantime, your rubbish bins, your recycling bins will start to be more and more empty.
That's right.
And perhaps your kitchen will become more vibrant with fresh harvests, and you'll feel more invigorated and hopeful for a really good 2024.
One of those people, I really enjoy it when I walk out on my front step and somebody's left me a little basket full of strawberries.
It's so nice. That means that there's a lot of love growing in the garden.
That's right. And that's part of it, sharing our heart.
Well, I love how you started us off with things starting in the soil and the compost pile and paying attention to the soil. Soil seems to be the theme. I think this is a great fad to see people
we've got to keep going with it. We really do. And I can only say that it's going to be an important part of all that we try to accomplish with the gardening world. What I'm hoping to become is a more conscious gardener. Sometimes I'm not.
That's good inspiration in itself. And I think my thoughts for 2024 and this upcoming growing season are similar. I want to take the knowledge that I have and push it to evolve. So I really want to put myself in proximity to people who know things that I don't. Sort of humble my learnings and my knowledge to just to be a little bit on the sideline so I can make lots of room for new information and absorb it into my practices and find what works really well for the places that I garden. And not just from people, but also from the sites where I garden. So the land also is a fantastic teacher. I want to learn how to slow down and pay attention a little bit better. And not feel that rush to accomplish things so quickly. Just go at the pace of nature, reduce my footprint, think in terms of if I'm not sure what to do, how about I just wait and see what lesson comes to me? So it sounds kind of up in the atmosphere, but that's my goal for 2024 is to really pay attention and observe more and find ways to adapt those new learnings into what I do in the garden. What was the quote from the seed catalog? Think big, act small. Small act, big thoughts.
Big, act small.
There you go. Ripped right from the seed catalog. Think big, act small.
Yes.
Well, I know that we've got a fantastic flow from last year. It's not like 2023 just ended and now we've begun with 2024. It is this cycle from a dormant garden into planning. Before we started filming, we're looking at seed catalogs and getting excited for what's coming and talking about seed saving. So as the seasons change, the programs come on and they're all very responsive to what people are hoping to learn. And I think we have a really fantastic roster of seed to table classes that people can check out. Thank you for watching the video, and there's a ton of information. One of the great things that we got to do last year was set up a whole page on our website for seed to table resources. So there's a wealth of knowledge there, tips and tricks, information about upcoming classes. Seed to table.
calhort.org, seed to table on our website.